We're going to start our evening off this evening with Mr. Al Miller.
Thank you.
Mr. Miller, would you like to take a few seconds to introduce yourself?
My name is Al Miller. On the county council, I've been on for 4 years. I represent the District 3, which is from Fairhill to Conowingo, the north end of the county. I'm a proud graduate of Rising Sun High School in 1972. We're in the quarterfinals of the basketball tournament at College Park that year. And I'm a graduate of the University of Delaware, where I played basketball for 1 year and then played basketball with Al Joel until I was about 50 years old. I love Cecil County. I'm proud of the Rising Sun High School and everything that the school system does. I'm a big fan of the Cecil County Public Schools.
Thank you very much. I'm going to start tonight with a question. How does your education and your experience qualify you for this elected role?
Well, you never stop learning. That's the one thing I've found these last 4 years. When I started this job, I really thought I had a real good grasp of what was going on in the school system. I do visit schools from time to time, but since I've been in this job, I visit schools a lot more. And I've learned a lot. And your education is important. I think the benefit that I have is I grew up on a dairy farm. I learned how to work at a very early age. I'm proud to be a hard worker, and it helps me to keep going. I keep a notebook with me at all times. I take notes at all times. I try and keep track of what's happening. But I'm here to serve the citizens of Cecil County, and that's what the job is all about. Thank you.
Thank you. How will you support the diversity of our student population in preparation for them being critical thinkers and productive employees in and outside of Cecil County?
Well, that's a great question. And actually, the diversity of students and my background with being on the Cecil County Fair Board for over 45 years and dealing with young adults in 4-H and through college and things like that, I found that the way to really inspire kids is to listen to them. And we've been very successful on our fair board. When we go to state meetings, we'll go to meetings and everybody will say to me, how do you have so many young people on your board? At one time we had over 4 people under 30 years old, between 20 and 30 years old on our board. And the reason we do that, when the kids get out of school, they go to college. When they go to college, they can miss a meeting, but they still get the minutes and they still are involved. And then when they're out of college, they can still be involved. And we listen to what they have, the ideas they have. A lot of them come up with some great ideas. One of the first ones was recycling program, and there's just been many more ever since. But it's a challenge because we have to educate every student in this school system. I mean, that's by the state law and the federal law. So we have to be diverse. We have to be ready to help and get people the help they need, and it takes a lot of work.
What do you feel is the most pressing concern in the school system today?
From my experience, I was shocked going into schools and seeing the poverty level. I went to Northeast Elementary School on Agriculture Week to read books to the kids, and it was very shocking to me. I guess I lived in a bubble all my life. I think I've been very blessed with all the things that I've been able to do in my life, but that's a real challenge. And the other challenge, I'm on the local management board on the council, and I hear that's basically all the information about trying to help people that have the drug issues and the problems and things like that. We have students that have parents that, maybe one parent's incarcerated. We have students that may not have a meal when they get home. It's a challenge. But the thing that I've learned is these teachers are real. They want to help. And by the way, I didn't mention this in the beginning, but I was a member of the Apple ballot, and I'm very proud of that for the support of the schools. Thank you.
And our last question for you this evening would be,
How do you advocate for funding for the school system?
Well, in our job, we get to vote on the budget. We advocate for more money as we go through. I go to school board meetings. I try and understand and learn what you need and what you don't need. I try and prioritize that. Maintenance of effort is unacceptable. That's not funding the school system. That's funding the school system at the basics for what the state and federal government will still give you money. If you don't fund that maintenance of effort, you won't get state and federal money. We need to support the school system, and we need to do a better job. They need more funding. We need to support. The reason for government is public safety, and the school system is very important for they're our future. Those kids are our future. I never thought I'd be in this position when I was in, the other school, the middle school back then. I never thought I'd be in this position, but it's an outstanding opportunity for me to be able to share my knowledge and to share what I have to offer. I am a big supporter of Cecil County Public Schools. I help with the food waste program. I deliver it on my own to help the agriculture community and to support the Cecil County School Board, because the heaviest thing you put in that dumpster is your food waste, and we're going to get rid of it and make energy out of it, and it's a wonderful thing. So I appreciate your time. Thank you. Is there any others? You good?
That's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
our next candidate will be Ms. Donna Culberson.
Thank you for being here, Ms. Culberson. Did you want to take a minute to introduce yourself?
Sure. Donna Culberson, representing District 4, which is Conowingo, Port Deposit, for County Council.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. How does your education and experience qualify you for this elected role?
For the elected role, honestly, I didn't have any experience in the political arena, but I do have a lot of experience dealing with state and federal regulations. I know how to research the legislation. I know how to read the COMAR regs and those types of things, as well as the charter and our own policies and procedures. In my previous jobs, I have written policy and procedures. So I think a combination of my background with managerial, being in a managerial position, as well as my work with the state representatives at the level that I was working with, help in reviewing whatever legislation is coming in front of us.
Thank you. How will you support the diversity of our student population in preparation for them being critical thinkers and productive employees in and outside of Cecil County?
As far as work performance, sports, or are you talking about a specific area or in general?
Probably in general, just overall, making sure that we have a diverse population here at the school. How do we get to all of the children so that as they go out into the world?
I think we do have a diverse population, and I feel like the school is making all the efforts necessary to make sure that every student is given the opportunities to excel at whatever level they are. Everybody is at different points in the education process. Some excel faster, some are more advanced, some are more motivated. So it's just a matter of working with the individual students and servicing their specific needs to make them a better person and to excel to the best that they can.
What do you feel is the most pressing concern in the school system today?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
What do you feel is the most pressing concern in the school system today?
The most pressing concern in the school system. I think, for me personally, I think the most pressing issue is unifying the entire school system, rather than being divisive, rather than singling out various groups. I think it's really important that everybody is brought together to work together, to accept one another, to respect one another, and avoid the division that I feel is happening in the school system.
And how
How will you advocate for funding?
Advocate for funding based on need. So I know the budget is presented from the school board from the superintendent to the county council. And as council members, we don't get to add to the budget. We can only cut from the budget. But if there are areas that I feel need to be addressed, that I feel may be under budgeted based on whatever the needs are, then that requires advocating to the county exec.
Thank you. We appreciate your time this evening.
No problem, thank you.
our next candidate is going to be Ms. Joyce Folsby. Good evening, Ms. Folsby. If you'd like to take a minute to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Absolutely. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I'm not sure what kind of weather we're having, but it's kind of scary out there. My name's Joyce Folsby, for those of you who don't know who I am. I was the chairman of the charter board in 2010. It was a group of citizens who, there were 9 of us, who literally wrote the charter and then went out and worked really hard to talk about the charter to all the citizens in Cecil County, and it became law in 2012. At that time, Terry Moore became county executive, which left a seat open on council because the commissioners then changed to council people automatically. So she happened to choose me. She interviewed a lot of people, but she chose me to fill her seat. So I came on council in 2013, and in 2014 there was an election, and I decided that I wanted to validate her choice. So I ran, and I won. So I was on council from 2013 to 2018 when my term was up. I did not run again. I have some family health issues within the family, and I just didn't feel it was fair to the family to run again. So that's a little bit about my experience. So I've had 5 years on council. I know what's happening. And the other thing that I do is I have attended, with the exception of about 5, since 2018, every work session of council. So I stay up to date on what they're doing, and I talk to them all on a regular basis.
Thank you. How does your education and experience qualify you for this elected role?
I was there. I have the t-shirt. I know what's happening. That's what qualifies me to be there. And I don't like what's happening now.
Thank you. Well, how will you support the diversity of our student population?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. It's echoing.
How will you support the diversity of our student population in preparation for them being critical thinkers and productive employees in and outside of Cecil County?
I would advocate every chance I got. The council has nothing to do with what happens in the school system, and I hope you all realize that. We hand a pot of money over to the superintendent of schools, and the school board decides how that money is being spent. And so, I mean, as a council person, all I can do is advocate, and I certainly would. I have been a great supporter of the school system since 1978 when we moved to Cecil County.
What do you feel is the most pressing concern in the school system today?
The loss of 2 years because of COVID. The mental health of our young children because of COVID are real issues. And I think that I think we're looking at addressing, and when I say we as citizens, we as the Board of Health, we as the superintendent of schools and the Board of Education, they're all looking at how we can help these kids, because children need to socialize, and they didn't for 2 years, and that's really sad. So I would say that's the biggest thing right now. And then getting them back on track educationally. You gotta teach them to read, to write, and to do arithmetic. I don't care what else you say, they've got to know those things.
How will you advocate for funding for the schools?
Oh, that's tough. All we can do is encourage the county executive to put a reasonable amount of money into the budget. The council cannot add to the budget, they can only subtract from it. The budget has to be balanced, but oftentimes what happens, and it happens regularly every year, they underestimate revenues, so that the budget's always lower than the actual revenue coming in. And then what you can do is, what I would do would be pound on the county executive's door and say, let's give some of this money back. Let's give this money to the schools that you didn't give them because you didn't give them all they asked for. I think that's really important. I hate seeing teachers buying things for their classrooms. It shouldn't happen. That money should be there for the teachers. I also, one of the things that I do want to say about the school system, I think we need to encourage more action, more interaction, and if somebody figures out how to do this, you're going to get a Pulitzer Prize. But more interaction between the parents and the teachers. Teachers have great interaction with the kids, but do you have the interaction that you need with the parents? It's got to be something that where the three, the parent, the teacher, and the children, all work together for a better education. And I'm really sad that so many kids don't have parents at home. I'm not saying one parent, I'm saying parents at home, because they've OD'd on fentanyl. That's a huge problem that you see. And I feel sorry for those kids, but we've got to work to bring them, to hug them. And not literally, but figuratively, make sure they're okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Is that it?
That's it.
Boy, there was no hard question.
Good evening, Ms. Hamilton. Would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Rebecca Hamilton. I am the Republican nominee for County Council in District 2. And I am very excited to be here to talk to everybody in the audience here and across the other schools.
How does your education and experience qualify you for this elected role?
So my background, I am originally from Delaware, went to Delaware schools. I went to, I kind of make the joke that I've been to every level of school in Delaware. So I started in Del Tech, in community college. So I'm a big supporter of our community colleges. I went to Goldie Beacom for business, my bachelor's degree, and then I went into my master's at University of Delaware. So I didn't go the traditional route. I kind of went that, kind of bounced around to get my degrees, but I also worked full time. So I think it gave me a different perspective in that sense. So I have been working in sales operations for the last about 15 years for kind of a global corporation focusing on the US sales team. It's given me a lot of experience working with different personalities, which I think coming into this position I have found, you have to work with everybody in the county, you have to work with people who don't necessarily agree with you, you have to work with different community groups, you have to take their feedback and kind of be able to move forward with it, find solutions for everybody in the county, and that's really where I look at this role, is being able to find those solutions for our community members, for all of our citizens of the county.
How will you support the diversity of our student population in preparation for them being critical thinkers and productive employees, both inside and outside of Cecil County?
So I think our school bodies, our student bodies are really reliant on our communities in the sense of diversity. So we're as diverse as our community is. So I think part of that is making sure that, one, we have the jobs to support our students once they graduate, once they choose whatever path they're going to follow, that they're staying in our community, that they feel comfortable, that they feel safe raising their families here, but that they're also financially supporting themselves through jobs in our community. So I think part of that is just ensuring, from a county council perspective, is ensuring that we have the community for them to grow into once they graduate, and then that they're staying here, that they're enjoying, that they're playing and they're living really here as well.
What do you feel is the most pressing concern in the school system today?
Pressing, so I think part of it is you might have to give me a second to kind of formulate my thoughts on this one. So I think the pressing concern is probably it's our parents. I think our communities around it. So, I was at the school board meeting last night and we saw all these parents showing up, which is fantastic. But I think it's also being involved in that day to day. It's not just showing up for the, once a month meeting, but it's volunteering in the schools. It's being active participants as parents, as community members in these schools, and ensuring that, the teachers feel supported, that our students feel supported, that our parents feel supported. I think those are kind of the critical parts, is just being more actively engaged. And that's something that I really picked up last night. Was it's great to show up for that month, that monthly meeting, but we have to be there every day and we have to be supporting everybody who is, who's impacting these students, so that, going back to that diversity question, that they feel that they're prepared and that they have the skill set to then enter the world.
And how will you advocate for funding for the school system?
So funding for the school systems, I think part of it is, and I look at it from a county council perspective, from the budget in general, is really looking at all of that wasteful spending. Where is funding going that it doesn't necessarily need to be going, and how do we redirect it to where it does need to go? So I still feel that there's a lot in some of our other departments that can be redirected to our law enforcement as well as our school system. So it's taking a look at across all budgets. What is that wasteful spending? Where is that relationship with all of our department heads? And being able to have kind of those open, frank discussions that says, you're asking for this, but really what's the top level importance that we need to be supporting for all of our departments.
Well, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Gilby. Would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Phyllis Gilby. I've been in the county for over 50 years. I'm running because I was very concerned about what's going on in the county, the fiscal management, and the transparency issues in the county. So I'm very happy to be a write-in candidate for the 4th District.
And how does your education and experience qualify you for this elected role?
For those of you who've been in the county for a while, you know that we'll say 20 plus years ago, I was a county commissioner for 8 years. So I have the government experience. I've worked in farming all my life, and our family created a small family-owned business called Kilby Cream. So I've worked in the business world also. So I have the business experience and the government experience to tackle this job.
And how will you support the diversity of our student population in preparation for them being critical thinkers and productive employees in and outside of Cecil County?
One of the things I've been doing over the past several weeks is I've been doing research. And for me, research is not only just looking at documents, but it's also talking to people. So I've been talking to a lot of teachers, counselors, instructors, other people in the community about what the school system needs. And what I'm hearing from them is that, number one, the school system definitely needs more teachers. They need more counselors to take care of all the issues that teenagers are having these days due to COVID, due to excess use of devices, all those things. They also, the other thing which is really not very glamorous, but one of the things that's constantly been cut in the school board budget is the maintenance. They asked for $3.1 million last time, they got $300,000. And that $3.1 million does not even cover what they need. So when do we get to the point where the schools start falling apart? So I think that we can provide for the needs of our students with more teachers, more counselors, and better school buildings.
And what do you feel is the most pressing concern in the school system today?
I hate to say funds, but it is funds. You talk to teachers and you talk to parents, and they say, well, there are discipline problems. Well, if you had a few more teachers in school, then you might be able to cover those areas where you're having discipline problems. If you talk to teachers, they say, they're asking me to do 3 jobs. I was hired to teach, but I'm having to cover for this and cover for that, because I think we're down something like 30 teachers and we're up like 600, 700 students. That's not a good ratio. So I hate to say money, but that's basically what it comes down to. If you have to take emergency funds to fund teaching positions to cover special ed, then you know that you're in trouble. And for anybody that was at the Board of Education meeting last night, the money numbers were astounding. And I don't think people were really paying attention to the money numbers because there were other things going on. But if you look at those money numbers, we need some more funding so we can get more teachers in the classroom, more counselors, and custodial staff too.
And how will you advocate for that funding?
As you probably know, anybody who's looked at county council actually doesn't have a whole lot of power. The power lies with the county executive. But one of the things that I'm very good at is asking questions. I ask a lot of questions. I tend to make a lot of noise. And I think this particular group of counselors they've not been asking questions. And I know that there's an intimidation factor at play there. They're afraid to because there'll be retaliation. I don't have anything to lose. I came out of retirement to do this. I have no name to make for myself. I'm not going on to higher things. So if I can win the seat, serve 4 years, my objective would be to find somebody else after those 4 years who will take up the mantle and fight the fight and ask the questions just like I want to do.
Thank you very much for your time this evening.
You're welcome. Thank you.